My name is Heidi Keith. I live and work in Portland, Oregon. Originally, I'm from Montana. Moved here in 1997. I have been making art professionally for about the last 10 years. I've been making art my entire life. I come from a family of painters, so grew up around it in Ohio before my family moved to Montana. I applied because I saw it listed on the RACC website, and it seemed like an exciting opportunity to have this space and this location downtown and this particular kind of traffic seeing my artwork. The piece is entitled Saving Daylight, which is a play off of daylight savings because it's all about the amount of light we have each day in this particular location. I think it took on a lot of unintended meaning just by meticulously documenting a certain space and time. Of course, before I created it, I had no idea what that 6-month span would be in my life or the lives of other people. And so all of the events of that time are kind of captured in this. And so I think it has an emotional impact on certain people depending on what their lives looked like at that specific time. I found out I was pregnant right before the project started, and then my son was born about a month after the summer solstice. So the entire duration of this project, I'm thinking about the growth of the year and the birth of the day and the birth of my son. And so emotionally, I think that's very wrapped into all of this too. And just incremental change was the theme of my 2010. I had requested it to be hung specifically at this time, right before the winter solstice. Because for me, there's a little bit of relief in the winter solstice. Like, you know that it's the worst it's going to get, like light-wise. It's the darkest day of the year. And I felt like it was kind of hopeful project to see, especially, facing that darkest part. Once you hit the winter solstice, it's kind of downhill from that point. It's pretty logical, but it didn't occur to me until after it was already hung that it's a landscape, which was kind of exciting to see, the darkness kind of creating a landform. And then I also was excited to see that February and March are beautiful and actually really bright. And there's so much color in that middle section. And a little bit disappointed in June. The end of June ended up being pretty dismal, but I think that's often the time, summer doesn't really start proper in Oregon until July. So every morning, pretty religiously, I got up and photographed the sky at 7 a.m. And I didn't leave town during the entire duration of that. And so I would photograph in the morning, and then I would come home from work usually in the afternoon and then create the painting at that point. The Portland building's reaction to the artwork has been really fun and intriguing. Like, the populace who works here isn't really an art-specific crowd, and so I feel like everyone has just this sort of like gut reaction, and they're not really, seems like they're not always receptive to the artwork, so I feel like they're really honest about it, and people seem to have enjoyed it for the most part. And it's funny because a lot of the critiques are more on the weather than on the actual artwork, like frustration with the weather or excitement about the weather. But I don't know. I've really enjoyed the reaction from the public. I feel like public art is art that's made for kind of a larger consumption and not so much for specific individuals, but you kind of owe something to be clear in your message, or at least something that people can engage with right away, and they don't need a background in art history in order to understand the piece. Both the installation space and the project I'm really happy with. I'm really glad I took it on. I feel like it was an interesting experiment for me, and I really enjoy the project.